Michael J. Fox's life has always been a story shaped by motion, by change, adaptation, and an almost constant need to redefine what stability means. Long before fame, before Hollywood, and even before he discovered acting, his early years were marked by uncertainty. Growing up in a military household meant that permanence was a luxury his family rarely experienced. Each relocation brought a new city, a new school, and a completely different social environment. For a child, that kind of instability can be deeply unsettling, but for him, it became an unintentional training ground. He learned to observe people quickly, to read social cues, and to understand how to fit in without losing himself. Humor became his shield and his bridge. It allowed him to disarm strangers, build friendships, and create a sense of belonging in places that were never truly home for long. Beneath the surface, this constant adjustment also built a quiet resilience. He developed the ability to remain steady even when everything around him changed, a skill that would later become essential in ways he could never have predicted. When his family finally settled in Burnaby, British Columbia, it marked a rare moment of consistency. For the first time, he could imagine a future that didn't involve starting over. Like many young Canadians, he dreamed of becoming a professional hockey player. He threw himself into the sport with passion, seeing it as a path toward identity and purpose. But as he grew older, reality began to interfere with that dream. His physical stature became a limiting factor, and slowly, it became clear that a professional career in hockey was unlikely. Letting go of that dream was painful, not just because of the sport itself, but because it represented the first major loss of direction in his life. Yet, in that loss came an unexpected opening. With hockey no longer defining his path, he began exploring other interests. Music caught his attention, and he spent time learning guitar, but it was acting that truly changed everything. What began as curiosity in a high school drama class quickly revealed itself as something much deeper. Acting gave him a sense of control, a way to channel his energy, humor, and adaptability into something meaningful. It felt natural in a way that surprised him, and for the first time, he could see a future that aligned with who he was becoming. His journey into the entertainment industry was far from easy. Without connections or financial backing, he had to rely entirely on persistence and raw talent. Early auditions were filled with uncertainty, and success came slowly. Small roles began to build his experience, but nothing guaranteed that he would break through. What set him apart was not just his ability to perform, but the energy he brought into every room. He had a presence that made people pay attention, a combination of quick wit, charm, and authenticity that couldn't be easily replicated. When he landed a role on a television show that would eventually redefine his career, it wasn't initially clear how significant it would become. His character wasn't meant to be the central focus, but audiences responded to him in a way no one had anticipated. Week after week, his performance drew more attention, until he became the undeniable heart of the show. The industry's early doubts about his appearance or leading man potential quickly faded as viewers connected with him on a deeply personal level. That success opened the door to an opportunity that would change his life forever. Taking on a major film role while still committed to a demanding television schedule required an extraordinary level of dedication. His days were consumed by filming, and his nights were spent on another set, leaving him with little time to rest. It was a physically and mentally exhausting period, but he pushed through it with determination. He believed in the project, even when the workload seemed impossible. When the film was finally released, it became an instant success, resonating with audiences around the world. Overnight, he was no longer just a television star, he was a global icon. Fame brought new opportunities, but it also brought new pressures, expectations, and a pace of life that was difficult to sustain. Amid this whirlwind of success, subtle changes began to appear in his body, small signs that something wasn't right. At first, they were easy to dismiss. A slight tremor, a twitch that could be attributed to stress or exhaustion. But over time, those symptoms became more persistent, more noticeable, and harder to ignore. Seeking medical answers led to a diagnosis that would alter the course of his life in an instant. Being told at such a young age that he had Parkinson's disease was not just shocking, it was disorienting. It forced him to confront a future filled with uncertainty, a future that no longer aligned with the life he had been building. The disease carried with it a slow progression, a gradual loss of control over his own body, and the knowledge that there was no cure. Sharing this reality with his wife was one of the most difficult moments he faced. Their life together was just beginning, filled with plans and possibilities. Suddenly, everything changed. Yet, in that moment of vulnerability, their bond strengthened. They chose to face the uncertainty together, creating a partnership rooted in honesty and resilience. Despite that support, he wasn't ready to share his diagnosis with the world. For years, he carried the burden privately, continuing to work while managing symptoms behind the scenes. This dual existence required constant effort, carefully timing medications, hiding physical signs, and maintaining the energy audiences expected. The strain of keeping such a significant part of his life hidden began to take its toll, both physically and emotionally. In an attempt to cope with the fear and uncertainty, he turned to alcohol. What began as a way to escape gradually became a deeper struggle, creating distance between him and the people who mattered most. It wasn't until he was confronted with the reality of his behavior that he made a decisive change. Choosing sobriety marked a turning point, allowing him to face his diagnosis with clarity rather than avoidance. Therapy became an important part of this process, helping him understand his emotions and develop healthier ways to cope. Slowly, he began to rebuild a sense of control, not over the disease itself, but over how he responded to it. When he eventually chose to go public with his diagnosis, it was both a terrifying and liberating moment. The secrecy that had once protected him had also isolated him. By sharing the truth, he opened the door to connection, understanding, and a new sense of purpose. Instead of allowing the disease to define him, he used his platform to advocate for research and awareness. Establishing a foundation dedicated to finding better treatments and ultimately a cure became a central focus of his life. This shift from private struggle to public advocacy gave him a renewed sense of direction. It allowed him to transform personal pain into something that could benefit others. Living with Parkinson's is an ongoing challenge, one that affects every aspect of daily life. Medication plays a crucial role, creating a delicate balance between mobility and immobility. The difference between functioning and being unable to move can depend on precise timing. Surgical interventions have provided some relief, but they do not stop the progression of the disease. Over time, symptoms have evolved, bringing new challenges that require constant adjustment. Tasks that were once effortless have become more difficult, and the need to adapt has become a daily reality. Despite these challenges, his connection to his work has never fully disappeared. Even after stepping away from major roles, he found ways to return to acting in smaller capacities, choosing projects that allowed him to work within his limitations. These appearances carried a deeper meaning, demonstrating that creativity and contribution are still possible even in the face of significant obstacles. Eventually, as the disease progressed further, he made the decision to step away completely, accepting that his abilities had changed and prioritizing his well-being. Through it all, his family has remained his strongest source of support. His wife's steady presence and his children's understanding have created an environment where honesty, humor, and resilience coexist. They have faced each stage of the disease together, building a life that acknowledges the challenges without being defined by them. Their bond has provided stability in a journey marked by uncertainty, reinforcing the idea that strength is not about facing struggles alone, but about facing them together. Michael J. Fox's life is not simply a story of fame or illness. It is a story of transformation, resilience, and purpose. It reflects the power of adaptation, the importance of support, and the ability to find meaning even in the most difficult circumstances. His journey serves as a reminder that while life may not unfold as expected, it is still possible to create something meaningful from the challenges we face, and to continue moving forward with courage even when the path is uncertain.